the thing is that we ask you to consider, in the way that you do business now, what's that going to look like in the next 10 to 20 years? Who's going to be working with you? So if I look to my situation, for example, I've got a 10-year-old, she's at school, and what she's doing at the moment is she's learning Google Apps for Education. So she comes home from school, she logs onto her Gmail account, which is run through the school, and she gets her homework. So if you consider that's a 10-year-old doing that today, what are your future board members, employees, and clients going to look like? These are these people, in 10 years' time, they're going to potentially be people who are working with you. So that means it's an opportunity for you to kind of get your skates on. So what we're going to do today, we're going to do a case study around the New Zealand Association Resource Centre Trust. Now, they have been around for since the mid-80s, and what they do is they provide capability building tools for non-profits. So what we've done is as a board, they've identified a need to be more collaborative. Sometimes they might be in different locations, different time zones. So it's really important for them to be able to collaborate on a particular document, whether it be an event schedule or a program. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking at. So some of the things we're going to look at this session is how to set up a Google Apps account. So that's starting from scratch. So it's where do you go to do that? Where do you go to find that connection? What a typical dashboard might look like. So if you can consider a dashboard of your car and it's sort of telling you where everything belongs and how everything's going, that's what a dashboard would look like. And where you can get some of those Google Apps extensions from. And we talk Google Apps extensions like, has everyone heard of MailChimp? Yep, things like MailChimp. And also what sorts of things we've found helpful. Because as we've gone on this journey, and this is really something that we've done. This is our experience. We're not Google representatives or anything like this. So this is all about what we've found has helpful with demonstrations and then a Q&A. So we should be wrapped up from this point in about 35 minutes. Okay? So let's get started. What I want you to do is just turn to the person next to you and just briefly discuss for a couple of minutes what types of products or things you use at the moment that you use to collaborate. What types of suites of products, like whether it be a Microsoft product or a product that you source at the moment from the internet. And just be prepared to share with the rest of the group, please. What types of tools do you use at the moment, just from the floor?
Microsoft.
Yep. Ivy. Oh, we've used Ivy. We're just using Ivy for an event that we're managing at the moment. That's a really, really good collaborative tool. I find that really handy. Are there any limitations that you find with Microsoft? Lots.
Considering we've used Events Interactive as well.
Yeah.
It's terminology.
Yeah.
It's things like they call them tickets.
Yeah.
It should be registration. It should be social functions. There is a plan for Laura to come out, and they've got a list of 600 things that we've submitted to them.
Oh my gosh. I think that is endemic in some of these types of what we call software as a service, and that is they're continually developing, and we become this small voice of nobody wants to listen to us, and it's really, really frustrating. So we just move on to the next product that we think is really good, but it just has some of they say, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and then it actually turns out to be a dog as well. So, yeah.
It can be cost prohibitive for so many people, so you've got to find something that works for you.
Yeah.
And I can see how it can be very good. Some of it's reporting, some of it's shonky.
Yeah.
Some of its interface is a bit shonky. But there are ways around it, and hopefully they will go forward.
But when you actually use a registration online tool, what we see with some of the advantages is the fact that multiple people can use the system at once. So with Microsoft products, what do you do if you've created a document? How do you get someone else to contribute to that document? You have to close it, then someone has to open it up, and then you want to go and change it. Can you please stop and close it down because it's read only and I can't. So then what happens is if you get mad, you just create you put it onto, exactly. So you do use Google Docs at the moment? Okay, cool. So we already have people that use Google Docs, which is great because that's actually what I'd say to do. Put it on that, and then you would create a Google Doc out of that particular spreadsheet. And from here, anything else that you use? You use Google Docs? Oh, cool. I'm preaching to the converted. Over there? Yep. Okay, well this is how to set it. Who has actually set one up? Okay, well this is kind of be a little bit of a run through for you guys, because this was like to set it up. So what we would say is if you're going to set it up, you need a domain. So if you don't have one, you can purchase one through Google, and then email addresses for your details to be sent to. And roughly, you used to be able to set up a Google Docs for nothing. Now Google actually charge you for that privilege. But considering it's $5 per user per month, it's actually not that big a deal. And bear in mind, this is just our advice. So let's get started. And it is important to set this up properly, because as we were just talking with someone just before, and they're like, oh God, I'm just about tearing my hair out, and he doesn't have a lot of hair left. He said, I cannot get it to work. Something has happened with my DNS records. So it is important to make sure that you actually set it up properly. So what we've done is we've recorded how to do this on this handy little tool here called Camtasia, which we are absolutely in love with. So what happens is Colette goes online and she just clicks into your Google Apps for Business. Now for non-profits, there will eventually be a Google Apps for non-profits, and for Google Apps for Education, that's free for schools. But then what happens is you just got to type in your name, address, just the kind of stock standard stuff. But this will actually help you create your online account. Now what you do is you actually put in your business name, and in this case we're putting in the name of the trust, and it asks you to nominate how many employees you have. So you cannot get away with saying 0. You have to put at least 1 employee, and then just your telephone number. And then your own domain. So that's why we say you actually have to go and purchase a domain and then come back. If you haven't got one, you'll just end up with a Gmail account, which isn't really what you want to do. And then choose your username. Now we always recommend, if you are working with a trust or for a trust, use generic names, admin at, events at, treasurer at, because then when you change, people come in from different positions, you don't have to change users. So this makes it a lot easier, and it also means that people know who is accessing what document and who has what function. So it actually makes it quite seamless, and it makes it quite structured. And it tends to work well with roles for an association. So then welcome to Google Apps. So you're going to get started with your Google Apps account, and away you go. So we've got to verify the domain. So what we do, I do refer to my notes when I've got something important to say. Now this is different from everyone to verify your domain. So we recommend that you talk to your web developer about the easiest option for you. What we found with this person before was he's not able to do that, and it does make it a little bit tricky. There's a list of providers to choose from, but if your DNS is with a local provider, chances they won't be on the list. So we just choose an HTML meta tag option, which just involves copying and pasting some code into your web page's homepage. So then what we get on to doing is we get on to customizing your homepage. So Colette, we're going through...
We're just customising the account at the moment, so changing your time settings and that sort of thing.
So just as with everything else, it's important that because what happens is with Google, obviously they're going worldwide, so it's Google for Japan, Google for Iran, all that sort of thing. So it's just important that you set this up like you would anything else. Choose file.
Just going through the appearance stuff here, I'm really big on having consistent branding. So it's quite good that you can put your company logo and it appears across the board. Yeah,
I think one of the things that we definitely have found is that this is, everyone knows the difference between a website and an internet and an intranet. So basically what we're doing here is we're setting up an intranet. So this is a closed account. So this is a closed account of different users. So here what Colette's doing is she's creating me as a member of this group or this unique setup, and I'm actually going to be events at, because I organise the events.
So what I'm doing right now is just emailing Rosemary her login details, so she'll just be sent something and has where to go, what to put in. Really, really user friendly.
Okay, so this is setting up our intranet. Great.
So you can basically set this as your login point for Google Apps, rather than having that quite messy technical stuff. And you can put anything on here really. If you want to communicate with your team, you can put your calendar on there, your list of documents on there, anything you want, and it's completely private.
So now we're setting up Gmail.
Just adding a calendar.
So the thing that we love about Google Calendars is the fact that you can actually share the space. So I mean, it is a little like your stocks. It's a place where everyone can go and put in where they are, what they're doing, so that you can see some of those spaces.
So yeah, if you're comfortable with Gmail, this will all be pretty familiar to you.
So you guys have got this at the moment? Yeah. And then you get Gmail on your mobile phone as well. So then just customising your Gmail. So you can customise it with colours. And then just going into your settings. So again, Colette's just customising some colours here.
So Google Labs are kind of a testing ground for web developers. There's a whole bunch of things you can add in. You can see down the slides that uploads. I've just added a calendar like a mini view. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do. I know Rosemary uses Google Labs quite a lot.
Can you just stop there for a second? Have you ladies had any experience with Google Labs? Labs? No, okay. So when you set up this account, one of the things you can do is you see the little cog top right hand side. Just go into that cog, and what will happen is that'll pull down a selection of what they call Google Labs. Now this is what Google is working on but isn't yet approved. So it means that you can start testing things like this little Google Calendar widget. So instead of having to click the tab to go into your calendar, this will actually just come up and feature on your left-hand side. So you can go into all sorts of little Google Labs for that, and I'll tell you about this great Google Lab that I found shortly.
So looking here at sharing your Drive documents within your Gmail. So if your whole organisation is on Drive, it's really easy to share documents. You don't have to save them and attach them or anything. You can just insert a link straight away.
So Colette's actually just sending me something now.
So I'm giving her the option. She can either view or edit. It can be as open or as private as you like.
Now this, if you want to pause for a minute, please, Colette. Now I work for Business Professional Services and we work with non-profits. I also work for an organisation called Kiwi Schools, and we have been working on the Google platform now as a business for 18 months. And one of the things that I've found particularly challenging is I tag team with another colleague. So what we do is we might be involved with a project or an event, and I have to keep logging in as her to check her emails. I mean, does anyone here? How do you check someone else's emails typically? You got access, but how do you have to log in? No. Okay. So how does everyone else do that? Yeah. So you use Google Apps as well?
Yeah, but we have Outlook because we use the Outlook on our desktop.
Yep.
We use the Google Apps tool to integrate.
Yeah.
So our users just it looks like these are, they could take full advantage of this and use Google Drive. And we love all the other features.
So what I love with this particular one is that Cherie, who's my offsider, has granted me access to her Gmail, to her email account. I've got no access to her drive, I've got no access to her calendar, but she's granted me access to her emails. One of the best functions of this is I can see an email that she's actually created, and I can reply to that email. However, when I reply to that email, it's come from her, but the person who receives it can see that I've sent it. So it means that everything becomes really transparent, and sometimes when you're dealing with different organisations, people have specific protocols that they don't like. I do not like people going into my account and sending an email on my behalf, because then they've got to go, oh hi, it's Colette here and I need to reply for Rosemary, la 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 la. Instead with this, I can just send it from Cherie's. Please see the attached document. They know it's come from her account, they know I've sent it, so everything is completely and utterly transparent. And for a board, that's actually quite a critical component in the way that they comply. It's honest, it's transparent, and everyone knows what's going on. So that's one of the things I really love about that. So that was just me swapping between some of the accounts. So now we're going to set up the calendars. And Colette's just going to set up a particular calendar event. And you can just do the same that you would do in Outlook. You can set up an all-day event, or you can set up an event that is just for a particular time slot. But what I particularly like about this is we've just started using this at BPS. We've set up a Google account, but it's the only function that we use, because there's people who are dragged kicking and screaming into this particular type of collaboration because it's new and not a lot of people have used it. So what we find is this has been of particular benefit, because we don't have to say, oh, where's so-and-so gone, or look at the calendar that we've printed out really nicely and put on the wall. Everyone is in here at the same time, and it just makes it really easy to plan things. And so we see that for an association or a non-profit, even for a business, if you've got the ability to go in and see where everyone is at one time, it makes it a lot easier to plan for things. If you've got a board meeting, you actually know whether someone is going to be free. So you don't have to say, oh, can so-and-so meet at such and such a time, especially if you're dealing with board members who are working for other organisations. Because all they do is they just email backwards and forwards, and you're forever phoning and trying to find a slot that fits. So for us, this works particularly well. And for our board members, this was probably one of the most attractive points of Google that actually made them want to investigate this type of technology. Do you ladies use Google Calendars to map? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think, and it is quite difficult because we're all in a situation where there are many working mums, and for board members it's just as challenging because they've got to work, they've got family, they've got board responsibilities, and it's just finding that nice little sweet spot that means that everyone can meet at the same time without having to go to the trouble of phoning, because it can be a real pain, especially for the secretariat or the secretary who's trying to organise it. Because as soon as they knuckle down a time, someone slotted something in. So what we can do here is we can actually, Colette can invite me to an event, or she can, and then we can see where all that fits. Again, view, month, week, day, all that sort of stuff. And then the agenda. Oh, can you just stop that and go back to the slide, because we've showed the BPS. This is where this is demonstrating what I particularly like. If you can see it, that is actually the BPS calendar, and as you can see, the last day is a Friday. So I'd be mad to try and hook in a meeting with anybody on that Friday. But if I go to the Tuesday, my morning's free. Everyone's here, everyone's available. So you just slot it in, and as soon as you slot it in, they can accept, maybe, or decline. And it's up to the people who are collaborators with this particular type of software to actually take it on board and collaborate. So theoretically, if everyone used it and used it properly, and that is a challenge, then you can see where you can slot everything in. And theoretically, that takes a lot of pain and energy out of it. Because I'm not even going to look at doing it on Friday. I know Tuesday morning's my spot, and theoretically, if they've all put their times in, I'm away laughing. Okay, so now we're setting up Google Drive. So this is where we can set up some of the Google Drive things. Now all Google Drive is basically just a repository. You've used Dropbox? Yeah. So the advantage that I find with this is that everything is in one place. Theoretically, you shouldn't need a Dropbox. You could invite someone to view a document. So Dropboxes are the thing of the past. Oh, your Dropbox is over, you have to buy more credits. So the way this is set up is it's set up as a series of folders, just like you would normally set up a series of folders. And you can choose to share a folder with somebody, which means every time you enter a document into that folder, everyone that has permission to see that folder can actually see it. Or you can just choose to share a document with somebody specifically. Where this kind of thing comes in really nicely is if you're dealing with multiple members of your team, and you might have your teams are working in different things. So for example, if I'm looking in a board situation, I might send out the minutes for a meeting, for example, and I just want everyone to view it. So you can also nominate when you share it, whether they view it, whether they edit it, or whether they can comment on it. So when I share minutes, I actually don't want anyone to be mucking about with that, so they can only view that. If I'm collaborating on an event-specific program, and I'm collaborating with somebody, you bet I want someone to collaborate on that, because I don't want to be sending multiple copies of the same thing to everybody. Then I've got version 1, then I've got version 2, then I've got to remember that person's edited it, so I have to save it back to the file. You really only need to work on one version, which just makes it that more simple. And you can do some of the same things that you can do with your Microsoft products, as you know. You can upload into this, you can upload files, you can, if you've got, for example, a spreadsheet that you've used for your last year's event and you want to modify it, you can just upload this into the file, and then you can create out of that, you can create a Google spreadsheet. It does formulas, it does headings, everything that your normal spreadsheet should do, the functionality is here. And the advantage is that when you share it with somebody and they comment on it, you can see where they've commented. So what Colette can do is, see, she's sharing that with me so I can edit it. And then she's going to put a message. So when I get that file, I know what the purpose is. And all that happens is I get an email that says, Colette has chosen to share this file with you. There's the file name with a hyperlink to this particular sector of Google Drive. I go straight to that and I'm away laughing. I don't have to hook into anything else. I'm actually able to access that in real time. Colette can work on it and I can work on it at exactly the same time. She can see where I'm working and I can see where she's working, and I'll show you a little bit more about that in a moment. But what it means is that the things that you used to have to say, can you please save that, shut it down and give it to me so I can edit it, it just does completely away with that, and that's one of the best features of this.
In addition, if I decide I don't want her to work on it anymore because I'm the owner of the document, I can just remove her. So
yeah, so if she gets mad with me and she says, you're spending too much money, then she'll just shut me out of that and I won't be able to edit it anymore. And because Colette is a stickler for aesthetics, she actually can go in and she can choose exactly what file template it is, very much like you would set up in Microsoft, and I just follow her template. Now with this particular this is the program. So what Colette's going to do is she's going to develop this program and then she's going to ask me to come in and collaborate on it. So she wants me to comment on what she's doing. So she's just drafting it as you would just a normal one, something about the welcome. Then she's going to go in and just do a little bit of editing. It edits in a very, very similar way that Microsoft does. So you've got that familiarity. It's not like it's talking in a foreign language to you. So some of those things that you do in Microsoft, Google have intrinsically gone in and made sure that you won't feel uncomfortable with that. So now what Colette's going to do is she's going to actually make some comments on this. Now, when you would normally do a comment, it's just a comment, so you don't have a chance to reply. But Colette's going to explain that she can actually ask me to reply to that. So there's actually a conversation around comments, which means that you can follow that, you can resolve it.
Absolutely, and they don't show up when you're printing it. So if you wanted to send something to your client, you could just download it as a PDF, and none of your in-house stuff is going to come up as well. It's just another quick demonstration.
And then you can also prepare presentations in a very similar fashion. So what we've done with this particular presentation is we're accessing this through our Google Drive. So the presentation that we're developing here is a Google document. And we've actually created this on our Google Drive account. And all you need is a portable device and an internet connection. So it means you're not tied to your laptop necessarily if you want to use a tablet, and you're not tied to your PC. So again, Colette can send me a comment, and when I open this particular file, when she chooses to share it to me, bear in mind that she needs to choose to share it with me. When she chooses to share it with me, that's when I can see the comments, and that's when I can choose to go in and do it. So back to our draft program that Colette's doing, and she wants to make sure that she's actually got some things correct. So she's going to ask me, she's going to prepare the draft, and then she's going to invite me to come and have a look at it. So again, some of the things you can just do all the formatting like you would do in Microsoft. Now, if you look at the top right-hand corner, you can see still that Colette is logged in as admin, and when she shares it with me, and she's going to share it with me now, what's going to happen is you'll be able to see, top right-hand corner, my name will pop up. So she knows that I'm now logged into the same document. And share it with me, and then I'm going to come online. And you see?
There's one over here right now.
Yeah. So that's me. So I'm now online. And the brilliant thing about this is that while I am online in that document at the same time as Colette, we can chat. So I don't have to send emails, I don't have to leave comments, I can chat real time with her. And I can start making amendments. So Colette's making amendments to that document, and I'm making amendments to the document. We're chatting about anything that we're unsure of. And it's actually, we find it an extremely, extremely good process, because it means we're not confined to saving different file formats. And it means we can...
particularly useful if you've got teams working in different cities, different countries,
Yeah.
different time zones.
Yep. I mean, I do this a lot, where I'm creating a proposal, and I need the CEO to come in and approve it, and I've got to get it out. I've got to get it out within the next 10 minutes. That CEO is online. They're making all the amendments that they need to make to it. It's one version. We know that we don't have a problem with multiple versioning.
It does keep backup versions.
It does do, but we don't tend to, you know...
I know of people who would change something and then regret it, and then they want the version they had yesterday. So there is an option with Google
To go back. Do you know that one where you can do the Google Lab where you can choose to delay the sending of an email?
That's a really good idea.
Do you know that one? Oh, that is... I've done that. I did that the other day, and there's a Google. If you go into the settings, you can go into Google Labs. You can change this. You can choose a Google Lab, and it's a delayed email, and you can set the timing for it. So I have my timing set for a minute, and then what I do is I send it, and I'm like, oh, I've forgotten to attach it. So you just click on Don't Send, and it pops your email. I've just done that how you've done it so many times. Oh, I'm really, oops, forgot to attach the document. And
I still get a few recall messages from people who think that they can magically recall an email they've sent to me outside of their company.
no, it doesn't work. But this I find is a really, really good, because I mean, I've done that heaps of times. You're just being too fast and you forgot to attach it. And I think also what Google does is, if you use the word attach and you haven't attached something, it will automatically prompt you to say, did you intend to attach a file? Yes, lucky they're there to do that. And then just some of the apps that we like, because obviously this is also about, I mean, with Google you can get different apps. You've got your standard calendar, you've got your mail, you've got your Drive, But some of the things that I really, really like are the extensions that you can buy. So one of my absolute favourites has got to be Insightly. Has anyone here used Insightly?
Wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of the best project management CRMs I've ever used. You can record multiple, you've got your contacts, you've got your projects, you've got your opportunities. You convert your if you've got an opportunity, say you're talking with a new client and you've got all the details with the opportunities, you've got a complete and utter record of the conversations, you can store emails in it, you can store documents in it, all from your Google Drive. And then once you decide that that's actually a goer, you just convert it to a project and it takes everything into your project. And that's then a live project. You can set multiple tasks, that's completely time driven, you can put an amount on it. And what you do is, what I really like is when you actually go into that as well, you can link things. So these are all, if you go into this, those are all my tasks, general tasks of follow-up. So those are just my hot prospects. They're not even opportunities. And then what you can do is you can link, if you've got a project, you can link to the organisation, you can link to multiple people within that organisation. So everything is in such a nice, neat, tight package. And every day when you log in, you come to your dashboard, you see all your tasks. It's a really, really neat way of doing things. And then we love Google Labs as well because you can try different things. And of course, MailChimp. Has everyone used MailChimp? Yeah. So MailChimp is a great way of integrating as well. And the best thing is with Google is all of your apps are in your taskbar. So you're just literally clicking from tab to tab to tab to tab. So it's not trying to manage software that is in another place. It's in just such a nice, tidy little thing. And for $5 per user per month, I mean, for us, it's just, even if you use it, and then what you can do is you can try and use a particular application, and if you don't like it, you just take it off. It's so easy to work and to use. And with many of the applications, because they're free, you do get limited access. And you do have limited functionality, but what it does give you the opportunity to do is pretty much try before you buy. So if you work with it for a month and then you decide that you like it, great. I mean, we've been working with the CRM Insightly for 12 months, and it's free for up to 3 users. We've now got new members of the team, so we've bought the full version, but even then it's a fraction of your licensed software product costs. And yeah, MailChimp, which is, Colette knows a lot more about MailChimp than I do. But
MailChimp's great, so if you're using a Google app CRM, generally you can just import your list straight over to MailChimp. And it's really, really powerful marketing software.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell for what we've got to say. I mean, as I said, it's from our experience. I mean, as you can see, step by step, it's actually a really easy way to provide good online collaboration. And a lot of the things you can try are free, and it's pretty low risk. So we just say get into it and experiment. Don't be afraid to do little bits and pieces. Don't be afraid to click into that labs button, and look at the different things that you can do. If you trial it and you don't like it, just disable it.
Would it be easier just to pay someone to get you from I want a website and I want Google Mail to here's your control panel, here's your dashboard?
That's what we do.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So that's what we do. Yeah. At Business Professional Services, what we do is where our aim is to create, to help non-profits be sustainable and have growth. And what we're finding is in a lot of non-profits at the moment, some of the board members are older. You know what I mean? They are older. And for associations and trusts, it's a real challenge for them to get younger board members. And I sort of challenged the group before. I've got a 10-year-old that uses Google Apps at school. She logs into her Gmail, into her Google account when she gets home, downloads her homework. She's online doing inquiry projects. So if this is the mentality and the type of collaboration that 10-year-olds are doing, what is this going to look like for the face of your organisation in 10 years when they're a prospective employee, or they're a prospective board member, or they're a prospective youth member? I mean, Colette's in her last year at university, and
Yeah, Auckland University uses Google Apps.
so I mean, you know, this is the kind of technology that it's not next week, next year, it's now.
And it's free for schools and non-profits.
It's free for schools. Google Apps for Nonprofits is not here yet. It's in the US, and the US tie it to a specific set of criteria, which is government driven. So hopefully we'll get Google Apps for Nonprofits sooner rather than later. But I work in schools with Google Apps for Education, and Google Apps itself is free, but there is a structure. Well, yeah, you sign up, but the thing is that it's exactly as you said. If I was a principal in a school or I was a chairman of a non-profit, how much time and energy, even though it's simple step by step, there's a reluctance for people to try new stuff. I'm afraid of making a mistake, and what if I do this and I can't access my emails, and it just all turns, So what we do is we step in and we set that up, because we say it's so important to set it up properly. Otherwise, you're just going to end up.
It has to be project managed.
Yeah, and it's not a costly exercise. It's not a costly exercise, because once you've got it, I mean, we do work with people, but we're developing a suite of tutorials and process-driven documents around that, which means that it sort of gives you an idea of how to balance how you share files, how to balance who creates the files, who's the owner of the files.
The only thing I found is that if they don't know how to share files on an open server, they won't know how to share files online.
And that's it in a nutshell. And what we do is we always promote the fact or the opportunity to do what we call as a pilot. So what you do then is you work with one or two people within an organisation, and you work with them and coach them into how to actually work with this type of technology. And with this type of technology, you can talk to someone on Skype. You can Google Hangout and then share screens. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But that's why in instances where we have set this up for associations, we've always chosen to work with people within that association who are more technically comfortable than others. And then they become the advocates, and then it spreads through. And if you've got all of your board members comfortably using this, or even members within your team comfortably using it, once you get into it, it becomes second nature. But you have to be quite structured around how you propose to set up documents. And documents is probably the most complicated side of it. If you can use an email, you can use Gmail. If you can use an Outlook calendar, you can use this calendar. And it's just the added things that you bring onto it. Like you might say, okay, so let's set up the basics, and then we'll add MailChimp, and then we'll add Insightly, and then we'll add Maven. That's a
project management, workflow management too.
Yeah, so there are different apps that you can use, but it's just about finding your feet and just going for it. But that's why we say set it up properly, and that's what we do.
The only other hard thing I found with businesses that do it is they have the existing email accounts and the existing emails. So
And that's
not an issue apart from size.
Yeah, and what we find is because often we're dealing with boards and associations or charities who they're usually communicating through their personal, usually through their personal account. Sometimes they'll communicate through a business account. So then what our opportunity is to say treasurer at, president at, chairman at. So you have those generic names, which is different from a business. I mean, with a business, it's like, I'm Rosemary at kiwischools.co.nz, I'm Rosemary at bps.co.nz, I'm events at, but I am events at associations.org.nz, because that's my function within that trust.